Hey everybody, and welcome to Freelance Winter. I'm going to be covering Gamestop Arbitrage in the winter sale for 2019 into 2020, pre-owned retro game scalps that I'm going to be focusing on. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you want more videos just like this, and comment below your own GameStop experiences, and like this video and share it and all that kind of stuff. But we're going to jump right into it here. That GameStop is running a winter sale, and essentially they're running a variety of different sales, but the sales themselves are not the big winner here. The pre-owned games is that you get two free pre-owned games for the price of two free games. So, the price of two pre-owned games. So you buy two pre-owned games and you get the other two pre-owned games free. But the interesting factor is that they don't just stop it at the Switch or the top tier console level. And as you can see here, they're highlighting a lot of different promos and things like that. But we're not going to focus on the newer games. We're going to focus on the older games that have a bit more broad range of profit that you could potentially make. As you can see here, a lot of different sales. Some of them pre-owned. You can kind of scalp the other titles, but it's a little bit better to do through just pre-owned in general. And I'm going to show you guys here, jumping right into it, that there's an area called the Shop Retro area, and in this area, essentially you'd be focusing on the older console games. Now, you're probably thinking that there isn't a lot of value in that, but the retro game scalps have a little bit more potential than the newer games, because the newer games are more mass produced, whereas the retro games are a little bit harder to collect because they're not made anymore, which means that the valuation of those games is just going to go up and up and up to a certain point till all the collectors get to collections that they want, and then it's going to be a bit of a taper off. But there's always going to be someone collecting these retro games and things like that, and retro consoles and all that. Sort of like 10-20 years from now, the Switch might go up in value rather than down in value, because it's going to become more rare to obtain. And this doesn't apply for all games, doesn't apply for all consoles. There's a lot of different areas that you could be focusing on. You got Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, Game Boy, Super Nintendo. That's the Nintendo that I misspoke there. PlayStation, Nintendo 64. You got PlayStation 2, Game Boy Advance, Xbox, and Nintendo GameCube. And the interesting factor is that there's certain areas that you should generally avoid. Nintendo games are more mass produced, which means that they have less value in them. You want to go through and find the more obscure titles, and you're going to find them more likely in the PlayStation, PlayStation 2, and Genesis areas, maybe some to some degree Xbox, but Xbox is similar to Nintendo, that they kind of mass produce their games. Personally, I would recommend focusing on the PlayStation area. There's a lot of different sales going on. As you can see here, some are selling for next to nothing, and reality, unless it's a rare game, the next to nothing valuation is pretty accurate as to what it's actually worth. You're not going to see much value in a lot of Crash Bandicoot games. You're not going to see a lot of value in basically the more action adventure type of games, because a lot of these were more mass produced. Now, you can still squeeze out some value in them, but the goal here is not to squeeze out value in the smaller items that are action adventure. You want to find more RPG, you want to find more indie games. If you're a gamer to any degree, that there's rare games. Saga Frontier is relatively rare, for example, and some of these other ones that are kind of popping up here, some of the ones that I've searched for recently, as you can see here, that do hold some value. You got $19, $5, $5, $15. And I'm going to jump into that here with you guys just to show you some examples. Now, Wild Arms is kind of an obscure niche RPG game. It's pre-owned for $18 here. And if you just simply take some time and go to eBay here, it's recently sold for $21.50 plus shipping. This is just a random example here. You got $20 here, $27, $28. So you're already making profit just on this, and it's not that expensive to send digital media through the mail. Obviously, if you're from a different country, if you're not from the US, you might struggle with making a profit off of these because the shipping costs back and forth can be quite enormous. Nice thing with GameStop currently is they are offering basically free shipping if you buy enough games. So the shipping costs aren't a big issue as long as you're buying a bulk enough amount of games. So you got Dragon Warrior 7 here, as you can see. This is $20. Gotta hop to eBay here. This is a kind of a hot ticket one that I'd highly recommend you guys checking out. As you can see here, you got recently sold for $44, $35, free shipping. So you're getting an almost 100% return on investment just from considering this game alone. Now, something else to consider here before I get too much in here showing the examples is that if you hover over this here, you get the buy two pre-owned games, get two more free. So they must be equal or lesser value. So there's kind of a limitation on that, but as you can see, that some exclusions may apply and physical stock items and blah 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 blah. And they're subject to change, but the short answer is that you can scalp similar value games, but the value of the games based on GameStop's estimates as compared to eBay and other platforms where you can resell them has a big difference. So you got this here that's Legend of Dragoon, and you had the other one there that I just showed, and another one, so you could buy the two and then you get the next two for free. But since they're all valued at around the same value, you'd end up getting the $15-20 completely waived for two of the games. So you're saving about $40, and some of them are still retailing for either double or just a little bit more. But even with shipping costs and everything, you still can make a profit off of it. The range seems to bounce around quite a bit, but you're looking at maybe a 40% to 100% return on investment, maybe about 65-70% overall. And, for just basically buying from GameStop and reselling them, as you can see here, the Legend of Dragoon sold for as recently as December 24th. This was literally 2 days ago, and it sold for $38, and they're only selling it for $20 on, or actually $15 on GameStop right now. So you could have bought the copy and you could have just simply placed it on eBay and you would have returned basically $20 to $23 of profit just on that copy. Obviously, the copies bounce around, but the same exact copy valuation here. Here's another one that sold for $31, so it's not just a fluke that one sold. They sell pretty commonly for around that price. It's a pretty much lower one here that's sold for a pretty flat rate. Someone probably literally bought it just to resell it for the higher price, as you can see here, because most of them range in the $25 to $30 range. So you're buying for $15 and you're selling it for $25, $30, you're still making a nice profit, especially since there's no real limitations on how many copies you can buy. There's a limitation on the pre-orders, though. Pre-owned orders, so you gotta kind of separate your orders each time that you do this, so that can be kind of time consuming, but the concept is pretty much the same, that you would buy the games and then you would resell them online. And there's cheap envelopes that you can buy wholesale, and it costs next to nothing. Even if you just went to your local store, which is kind of a marked up price, you can still get an envelope for less than $1 that would be able to ship this kind of product out. And then you have basically stamp costs, and then you have basic tracking information if you want to pay for that, which is probably important. But depending on the price ticket item, if it's a $5 profit potential, then it's best to just kind of ship it out as is and hope that it arrives there. But on eBay, people are a little bit iffy on the no tracking aspect, because then they can kind of exploit that in a scenario. So it's almost best to get tracking even on the lower ticket items, but as long as you're still in the profit margin range. Now here's just another example. This isn't the best example because it looks like the case that they're going to ship out is a little bit cracked, but you have a $20 pre-owned here. And then on here, you can see that it's selling for as much as $40. And this is pretty consistent. You got December 20th. It recently sold 3 different times. And as you can see here, it sold for 32, 42, and 39. Since the case is cracked, you're probably going to get about $25, $30 for it. But you're paying less than that, and with the shipping and everything, you're still making profit off of it, although it might not seem like much. The concept is that you buy in bulk and you resell over time, and the valuations of collectible games like this only just go up. They're not really going to go down in value. And that's about all I wanted to cover in this video here, but there's a lot of holiday sales going on all over in many different retail outlets online. And there's a lot of different sales that you can snag. Even if you're just looking for a game for yourself, the two pre-owned games free for buying two is a pretty good deal, assuming you're buying the right games. Now, some games lose value pretty quickly. You want the more RPG indie games, the more obscure games. You don't want the more mass-produced, because the more mass-produced games are just going to go down in value because there's so many copies and they're not really collectible if you can just go to any retail outlet and just buy them. That's why I recommend focusing on basically the retro games, because the retro games aren't really made anymore and they haven't been made for years. So the likelihood that you're going to end up finding a place that's still making a given game that's retro is very slim. Now there's some places that kind of remanufacture and redo the cartridges and make kind of fresh copies, but if you want the true originals, which collectors generally do, you would buy through a retro outlet. I mean, GameStop offers that, but there's other places that do too. But the problem with a lot of other places is that they're not going out of business potentially like GameStop is. So GameStop is basically trying to dump their inventory before they likely go out of business. So they're kind of in a liquidation stage almost. They're not really bankrupt yet, but they're getting pretty close to that. So that is something to consider into 2020, that there's a lot of discounted games. Wild Arms just going over. You got Dragon Warrior 7, as you can see here, almost double the price. You got Legend of Dragoon, almost double the price. You got Legend of Legaia, almost triple the price, and so on and so forth. And as you can see, there's a lot of different sales going on, but let me hop back here all the way to the end. It's one thing I wanted to mention before the end of this video, that I do run a freelance channel. There's a lot of different topics and things like that. This is a basically live chat, and you can talk with other freelancers and traders and things like that. Got a lot of different channels you can check out, and a lot of different resources. So make sure to check that out in the description below. Make sure to follow this video and subscribe to the channel if you like this kind of content. I'm trying to come up with unique content, so if you have any ideas of things that I can add to it, let me know. Make sure to check out the other videos in the bottom left and the bottom right, and the subscription button in the middle there. And thanks for listening in, and have a great day.